Next speaker is Graeme Clarke, who is a senior manager at Expleo, and he is going to talk to us about getting to market quicker through low-code, no-code approaches. So, stage is yours.
Thanks very much, Peter, and it's great to be here at Beltech again this year. My name is Graeme Clarke, as Peter said. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a software engineer, manager and speaker. I've been active now in the IT industry in Northern Ireland for the last 25 years, and I've worked in a load of great companies over that time, including places like Allstate and Nysoft and TextHelp. But now I'm working over at Expleo as a senior manager and head of service for software delivery. Expleo is probably the world's largest software quality consultancy. We're active in, I think, 26 different regions, 30 different business verticals. We've got 15,000 people, and we're a 1.2 billion euro company. Our services are divided in three areas: engineering, quality, and management consultancy. But I suppose if I wanted to sort of sum us up in a couple of words, what I would say is that we work with our clients to help them make things work both better and also sooner. But I'm here today to talk about low code and about getting the market edge through low code. And I want to ask you today, are you maybe losing market share? Are your competitors always seem to be one step ahead? And can they update their products, their websites, just at the right time to satisfy customer demand? If only there was a way that you too could get quality software out quickly and cheaply, and perhaps without having to hire in a whole pile of new people. Maybe you could steal a march on your competitors, get the market first, and ensure that it's your products and services that are just what the customer needs. Well, do you know what? Maybe low code can provide that answer. And in this talk today, I'm going to talk about how we can use non-technical resources such as business analysts to actually develop new software. And I'll explore how to get started, what the sort of limitations are, and what to do when things start to get tough. But before I really get into it, I want to share a few numbers with you. And the first one is this: 83%. And that's the percentage of CIOs today who have unfulfilled software development positions in their organization. And in fact, in the US, there are 500,000, that's 500,000 open software development positions that can't be filled. And worse, the average wage of a software developer in the US is $105,000 per year. And I know what you're thinking. It's the same thing that I'm thinking. Why am I not working in the USA? But what this means is that software development is expensive, and it's very difficult to get the right people. Now, on the other hand, Forrester tells us that low-code development is 10 times faster than traditional full stack. And according to OutSystems, we have reduced the number of processes in the software development lifecycle from 16 all the way down to 7. That's a saving of more than 50%, potentially in terms of the time and money that you're spending in getting software out. And the camera company Ricoh last year reported a 253% increase in the return on investment since they shifted to using low code. So it's definitely something that's worth considering, maybe even for your industry. Now, what I want to talk about is what is a non-tech, or we also call them citizen developers? Is it somebody like this who has almost certainly absolutely no experience of IT whatsoever? Or what about these two guys here, fresh off the boat? Could these guys actually build software? Well, do you know what? With the advances in modern technology and the new low-code platforms, even someone like King Arthur here can actually produce software. However, what we want to do is to build software for people to actually use and get value from. And for that reason, it's really important that our people, our citizen developers, have what we call user focus. They understand what it is the users are actually looking for. So let's say that you were going to build a new application for the restaurant industry. Then perhaps our Buddhist monk here might not have the right insights into what goes on. And it might be a lot better if we had somebody like this, for example, who understands how that industry works. Or let's say you were building a new point-of-sale application for pubs. Well, although these two guys here might drink an awful lot of rum, they're probably not the right sort of people. And maybe if we had somebody like this on our team, it would work a lot better. Or maybe we're building a news feed to bring all the latest political tips and tidbits and tricks. Well, King Arthur's knowledge is probably a wee bit out of date. And maybe if we brought in somebody like this, for example, we'll build a much better type of application. So it's really important that our people do have that user focus and understand what it is the users are actually looking for. So how do we get started? So we've got our user-focused citizen developers. Well, it's really important to pick the right tool. And you know what? There's a whole load of tools available, and all from the best suppliers, people like Microsoft and Salesforce. And these tools are all really good. They're quick to pick up and to get started. They're really, really intuitive, and they're really easy to use. However, what I will say is that many of these tools are geared towards a particular industry. We've got low-code platforms for banking or for insurance, and it's good to do a bit of background research at the start to make sure you pick the right tool for your application and for your industry. And you'll find that it's much quicker to get up and running, and there's a lot more features geared to what it is you're trying to do. So let's take a quick look at one of these tools, and I'm going to have a look today at Microsoft Power Apps. And here's a screenshot of the Power Apps platform here. And according to Gartner, Microsoft are one of the leaders in their Magic Quadrant, and their Power Apps platform is really, really impressive. So it sort of features that it's got, well, first of all, it's sort of got drag and drop, and you basically go and build up your application by dragging and dropping a load of stuff onto the screen. And that's a pretty common feature amongst all these platforms, really easy to use. And over on the left-hand side here, you can see there's a range of like reusable controls that you can put on to build your app. And this can be anything from a button or a text box or a drop-down up into much better and more sexy controls like how about an insurance policy registration control or a control which allows you to download your statement as an Excel file or a PDF. And the list of controls that are available are going to depend on the focus of the platform, on whether it's an insurance or a banking or some other type of low-code platform. And that's why it's important to pick the right tool for the job. And also on the right-hand side here, we've got a load of configuration options, and it's really easy to go and change the look and feel, the colors, the text, the positions, or whatever else to make the thing work properly. So it's a great tool, very, very easy to use. And also, we've got plenty of fantastic documentation available. Microsoft are well known for the quality of their documentation, and you can go onto the Microsoft website and you can find here articles and reference guides and blogs and videos and all kinds of useful stuff to help you get started. And if that's not enough, there's loads and loads of great online content in the community. Now, I went on to Google and I did a quick Google for Power Apps, and I found this guy. This is Mr. Brian Knight. And in Brian's video blog, he'll tell you how to get a Power App written in only 5 minutes. And there's loads of great content like that to help you get up and running quickly. So fantastic documentation, really easy to get started with the likes of Power Apps. But you know what? That all sounds brilliant. But are there limitations to these platforms? And the first thing that comes to my mind is engineering knowledge. Sure, it's great. We've brought all these user-focused citizen developers in, and that's fantastic. But do these guys actually know how to do things properly? Do they know how to build things right or to test things? And surely the quality of the testing here is really going to suffer. And actually, some of these platforms, it's quite hard to test, and they don't support all the latest test automation tools. And there could be a problem there. And you know what? What about branding? Branding's a big issue. You know, a lot of these platforms are hosted by the providers, and it's not possible for us to put our corporate logo there or the right colors. Or what happens if it doesn't look the same as our other applications or our website? This could actually be a serious issue. And forget that. What about accessibility, security, and performance? I have 20,000 users, and if I start putting them all on this, is it going to fall over on day one? What about my customers that have dyslexia or are colorblind? Can they use this software? This is actually quite a serious issue. And what about releases and versions? Can I actually have a version in production and be doing bug fixes and building the next thing all at the same time? This is going to land up as a complete disaster. But do you know what? With the right approach, we can help avoid a number of these sorts of pitfalls. So what I want to do now is to share with you a number of tips and talk about how we go about it. And I've got three top tips from Expleo on how we do low-code development. And throughout these tips, I want to keep a couple of things in mind. First, to maintain that user focus, to make sure we're building stuff that our users actually want. And also second, I think it's really important that we put quality at the centre to making sure we're building something that's good and of good quality without tons and tons of defects and issues. So, top tip number 1, write down how it will work. Now that might seem fairly obvious, but I think it's really important. And what I recommend that you do is you write down how it will work in a very structured fashion that's clear and it's easy to understand and it's easy for everyone to agree on how it's going to work and there's no confusion. And this is really going to promote testability later on in the process. If we all agree how it's going to work and there's no confusion, it'll make it much, much easier to test, and it'll also eliminate that gap between what the users are actually expecting and what we actually build. And this is really about driving quality right from the start throughout the whole process. Now, over at Expleo, what we do is we write down our requirements using a technique called behavioral driven development or BDD. And this is an agile technique for writing structured requirements in a clear fashion that is going to promote collaboration between all the people involved and also promote testing the application later on. So tip number 1, write down how it's going to work. Tip number 2, use adjacent skills. So it's great we have our user-focused citizen developers like this guy here, but it's really going to help drive quality if these guys have some sort of exposure to engineering, they have some ideas about testing, about how to build things, and that will help drive quality. Now, what we do at Expleo is we train our consultants. So our consultants are normally used to working alongside customers and understand the sort of things that they're trying to do. We train them in things like test automation or business analysis to give them that sort of extra bit of engineering. And they're able to use tools like Micro Focus UFT1. Now, UFT1 is an artificial intelligence or AI testing platform from Micro Focus that's specifically targeted at non-tech developers. And what it does is it helps people take requirements written in BDD and to turn those into automated test cases. That is really going to help us drive quality throughout the process. So tip number 2 is use adjacent skills, and if we can get our guys a bit of exposure to engineering, then that's really going to help. Tip number 3, know how to extend the platform. All of these low-code tools have limitations and they're all different. So it's important to understand what the platform isn't going to do, when the problems are going to come in and how far we can push it. Now, all the platforms do have some mechanism that we can use to extend it and to build out new functionality when that happens. So, for example, the Microsoft Power App supports a technology called Azure Functions, and we can go in and we can write a bit of code in there to add extra functionality into Microsoft Power Apps. A lot of applications as well, a lot of low-code platforms support a technology called Angular JavaScript. Many of you will be familiar with it. So technologies like Neutrino's, the insurance low-code platform, you can extend that using Angular JavaScript. So do understand what you can do with a platform, when you'll get into trouble, and how to go about extending it. Now, at Expleo, what we do is that we send our low-code teams out to our clients to help them build these applications. But back home at the ranch, we have full-stack software development teams, and those guys are able to parachute in at the right time to put a bit of code in and help fix some of these issues. So tip number 3 is know what you can do and know how to extend the platform. Now, that's all great, but just to give one of our customer examples of where we've done this before, we deal a lot with big insurance companies, and over in our United States operation, we're very active in the US. We had a particular good case study, and the objective for this client was that they were getting requests in from their customers for insurance quotations, and there was a big lag between the requests coming in and the quotations going back out, and of course there's all sorts of online forms that had to be filled out as part of this process, and their target was to reduce this release cycle by 50% while still maintaining compliance with all of the various regulations. So our solution was we sent in a user-focused development team staffed with with a product owner to help get buy-in with the users, with business analysts, and with people with automation skills. A very agile team, and they wrote their requirements using BDD. And back home at the ranch, we had a number of Angular JavaScript experts ready to jump in whenever there was a problem, and that's how this particular tool could be extended. Now, the big issue they had, funnily enough, was actually in configuration management. With this platform, it was next to impossible to have a version up in production and be working on bug fixes and even the next version at the same time. The tool really didn't support this idea of multiple versions, so there was a full stack coding workaround required, and a lot of the exports and code was held in a separate GitHub instance. So there was definitely challenges, but there was loads of benefits. This approach of having a product owner, an agile team, and using BDD meant there was an early clarification and agreement on the user needs and great buy-in from the end users. And the team were able to produce high-quality, maintainable software in really short timescales. And what the customer actually said was that our low-code team helped in the digital transformation of their overall organization. We helped get low-code in, and we helped them make it work better and sooner. So that was really important and really great feedback. So just coming to the end of my talk, I'd just like to summarize some of the points that have gone through today. The first one is make sure that our citizen developers have that user focus and understand what it is the customer is really wanting. Make sure you pick the right tool for the job. Pick the right one for your industry and for situation, and you'll have loads of extra great features to help you out. Put quality right at the very start of your process. Write down how it's going to work in a clear way that everybody can understand and agree to. If you can, give your people adjacent skills to drive quality throughout and to help test and build a decent product. And tip 3 was know how and when to extend the platform and what you can do with it and where you can take it. And hopefully this can help you build better, more successful and more valuable low-code applications. So that's pretty much it. Thanks very much for listening to me today. Again, my name's Graeme Clarke. Do connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions about the talk or about the Expleo low-code approach, I'd be more than happy to answer. And I really hope that you enjoy the rest of Beltech this year. Thank you.
Graeme, thank you very much. That was brilliant. Really, really.